All right. Sorry for the slightly delayed start there. Been having computer issues all night long. Much like the Knicks, we're having some issues throughout this evening, but thankfully they figured it out in large part because of one young man. Well, actually, not really one young man. This game was about two guys. And I will say that it's going to be tempting to go over the top about one of those players tonight. The other one, we've seen him do it before. It's going to be tempting to go over the top about one of those players tonight. We'll get to him in a second, and we'll get to quickly in a second. I do at least want to acknowledge this is the Houston Rockets. They were playing on the second night of a back-to-back. They had three starters injured, I believe, although one of those is Jalen Green, who was not helping them win basketball games at all. And the other one is Kevin Porter Jr., who's like, little hit and miss. They were missing Christian Wood. But listen, this is still a team that won 7 games in a row. This is still a team that has been giving people fits for a while. I know they got their ass kicked by Cleveland last night. Cleveland's been kicking a lot of people's asses. And here's the reality of the situation. The Knicks have been playing, I don't want to say as poorly as any team in the NBA over the last 3 weeks, but they're in the conversation. In terms of the stretches of basketball that they've gone through. They went through some stretches like that tonight. One in particular, which we'll talk about. But over the second half of this game, the Knicks had 3 healthy centers, 1 healthy power forward, 2 healthy point guards. I don't think we need to talk about Kemba Walker, but 2 point guards that they actually, are in the rotation. And by the way, Kemba Walker shouldn't have played tonight. And they had 2 wings, Evan Fournier and Alec Burks. And those 2 wings, we're going to talk about Mr. Fournier. There's a reason he didn't close out this game. He only played 28 minutes in a game where they absolutely needed all the wing depth that they could get. And Alec Burks went 2 for 10. And they found a way to win the game. And they found the way to win the game because of a commitment to something that they have not committed to much at all throughout this year. And that's defense. And the personification of that commitment to defense was, of course, Deuce McBride. So the Knicks got Deuce McBride with the 36th pick in this year's draft. A lot of mock drafts leading up to the draft for anybody who may have forgotten or isn't into mock drafting. He was in the mid-20s, maybe 21, 22, 23, mid-20s, maybe low 20s. He ended up falling to 36. And Jonathan Wasserman, who studies the draft and knows the draft better than anyone, tweeted out earlier tonight that part of the reason that he fell that high, that long in the draft, was because teams weren't sure of what position he could play. Because he's 6'1", so he's not. I mean, we're going to talk about the defense, obviously. It's in honor of Deuce. He's 6'1", so you're okay with the switch, maybe up one position, but you can only do so much when you're 6'1". And is he a point guard? Is he not a point guard? Well, tonight Deuce McBride had 9 assists in 36 minutes and looked eminently comfortable running the point. Is he your classic point guard? No. Is he much more of a combo guard? Absolutely. Well, guess what? The league is run by combo guards nowadays. There's very few true, quote-unquote, true point guards left. And Deuce McBride, still young, 21 years old. The shot is real. The defense is, I have to write a newsletter tomorrow. And these, Substack, love Substack. Shout out to Substack for the Knicks Film School newsletter. You could only fit about 9 or 10 clips, like little GIFs in the newsletter before it gets too long to send out. I want to have 9 or 10 clips of Deuce McBride's defense alone to forget about anything else that happened in this game. And there's a lot else that happened in this game. The kid absolutely, absolutely changed everything about this game. I know they had, whatever it was, 39 points in the first half or the first quarter, excuse me. But the Rockets were getting everything they wanted. And it was atrocious defense. And I don't want to talk about the bad yet, but he came in and he absolutely changed the complexion of the game. And when a rookie does that, and it's not like, look, let's just call a spade a spade. We always wanted Frank, some of us always wanted Frank to come in these games because you felt there was some of that same spark, right? Well, this is Frank, except I hate to say it, he's better defensively because he's bigger. And he's like Frank, we saw, small guards occasionally would blow by him. No one's blown by Deuce McBride. I mean, he fights around screens. I mean, we saw him in the post. Eric Gordon tried to post him up, nothing doing. There was another guy, I think it may have been Gordon again, tried to post him up, nothing doing. And then on offense, obviously, aggressive, can shoot it off the bounce. Only thing he doesn't do is he doesn't get all the way to the rim yet. I know he had the beautiful transition finish. He had literally one play tonight, the entire night, played 36 minutes. He had one play the entire night that I highlighted as like needs to work on, where he had a lane to the hoop and he bypassed it and he passed out. That was the one real knock of his game, other than the positional question coming out of college. He didn't really finish a lot at the rim. Instead of that, he opted for mid-rangers and whatnot. Listen, that's fine, great. We got him at the 36th pick in part because of that. Not to be outdone, Emmanuel quickly had been in a little bit of a shooting slump. Obviously, 7 for 10 from deep tonight. Don't discount his 4 assists. He earned those assists. Some really nice passes off the hands of Emmanuel quickly. And you know what? There's a reason why I haven't come on here at any point this year, even though he's now been through 2 separate shooting slumps. He's probably, after tonight, he's probably up to 34.7% from 3 on the year. Not what he was last year. I don't care. I could care less. He's going to be a great shooter. He is a great shooter right now. He's going to be a great shooter. And for me, his year all season long has been about just consistency of approach on both ends of the floor. He's 1 for 10. He's 8 for 10. Doesn't change how he defends. Doesn't change how he goes about his business. I'm so high on these 2 kids and the kids that didn't play tonight. Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, get well soon, both of you guys. RJ Barrett, we have not forgotten about you. But it really does need to be said. This front office drafted these 4 kids. Obi, Grimes, Quickly, Deuce. They know what the fuck they're doing. I understand free agency didn't work out so well. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I'm going to stay focused on the good for now. I don't want to get into the bad yet of tonight. And there was some bad. God. Talk about the absolute worst 23-point game on 12 shots that you could ever hope to see. But I digress. I believe in this front office. I believe in the culture of this team still, that they're bringing in a certain type of player, certain type of person. There's buy-in. Like, that's the thing. The reason I'm not like apoplectic or really worried about the long term with this franchise and with this organization is because clearly the kids that they are drafting and bringing in, buying in hook, line, and sinker. Okay. I just talked a lot. We have a ton of super chats already. Thank you to everybody in the chat. We already have 600 people here watching, and a bunch of super chats. I'm going to get to them, and then we'll talk about some other stuff. Matthew Baltiglieri, thank you for your contribution. We appreciate it. Brian Carter with first comment and my favorite comment of the night. How can we employ 15 Deuce McBrides? I had the same fucking thought during the game. When he was out there doing his thing, I was like, what appendage wouldn't Tom Thibodeau offer to cut off if he could just have 5 Deuce McBrides out there on the court at the same time? It's Tom Thibodeau's wet dream, Deuce McBride, how he plays, how he approaches the game. Absolutely. Stevens Guillaume, starting the Deuce McBride is our new starting point guard fund. So, I don't want to spend too long on this because we got a lot of good super chats in here. Tibbs, you know, so let's just go through it. Put the center position aside. You got Randall, you got Obi. Fournier, I don't know what's going to happen over the next month and a half in terms of trades or whatnot. We could talk about that in a bit. As long as he's here, he's going to play. Burks should play. He's been really good. And then quickly, obviously, he's going to play as well. Rose, I know he's hurt right now. He's going to play. And then what does that leave? That leaves RJ. I forgot about RJ. That's 9 guys. And it leaves Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride. Now, Rose went out with an ankle tonight. We'll see how serious that is. They're going to have injuries throughout the rest of the year. COVID fucking blowing up the NBA as we speak. Is there going to be opportunities for both of these kids to play most nights? Yeah. But I don't envy Tibbs one bit. I don't envy Tibbs one iota with what he has in front of him as far as decisions. Because obviously everyone's going to want them to bench Fournier. That you can't do that. Not a guy making $18 million a year. Because if you do that, it's terrible asset management. It's not because I care about Evan Fournier. Or that because he makes a certain amount of money, he has to. No, it's asset management. I don't know what to do. We'll see how they manage it. I don't have an answer right now. CT Pittman, I swear if Tibbs goes back to his traditional lineup when everyone is healthy, then I know he's the tank commander. What is the traditional lineup at this point? What is it? I don't know. We know we're not getting more than a couple minutes of Randall at the 5, so we're getting 2 centers. If Randall was a full-time small ball 5, you could fit everybody else. I don't know what to do. Again, I'm going to say it very clearly. That Evan Fournier, I don't give a shit how many points he had tonight, what his efficiency was. That was one of the most atrocious performances I've seen from a Knick this season. What he did on defense, his approach on some possessions on offense, the urgency or lack thereof with which he approached this game, as he has been approaching several games. He got hot tonight. He hit some shots. Good for him. You getting paid $18 million a year. You still suck. But you can't bench him. And Tibbs is not going to, he's not going to play 11 guys in the rotation. The thing is, are there going to be injuries and guys who sit out that are going to allow you to play both Grimes and Deuce? But I mean, how do you bench this kid? How do you bench him? And then the other answer, obviously, is a trade. So where's the trade that frees up some room? I don't know. Ryan Huang, with the young guys playing so well, is it fair to call starting Fournier? Is it fair to call starting Fournier to drum up value a bad tanking move? I'm here for the quick Deuce minutes. I mean, Fournier started his whole career. I think he's probably most comfortable starting. I think it would raise red flags around because here's the thing: other front offices, other teams, they don't watch every one of the Knicks games. They're going to look at the numbers. They're going to look at, okay, Fournier's still starting. All right. I don't think it's all about his trade value either. I think part of why Tibbs is going to continue to start him is because he's trying to get him right. He's just in a terrible place right now. He's in an awful place. So what do? You keep playing him to hope he gets out of it, or do you sit him on the bench and then try to potentially muck up that? Here's the other part of it. I love quickly coming off the bench. I've always been consistent about that I love quickly coming off the bench. The move to me, the potential move to me, is once RJ comes back, do you start Rose, Burks, RJ, and then bring Fournier off the bench? But then I don't know. I really don't have an answer right now. I wish I did. A trade is the answer. G Beers, have known we had something in Deuce. Since first time I saw him play at WVU, can Tibbs put him on the bench after he played him the entire second half? Ran the offense so well, great passes, no forcing. I tell you this, Tibbs doesn't want to stick him. Like, we're sitting here and we talk about Tibbs and the decisions he makes, and I understand it was frustrating at times last year. It's been frustrating this year, and I have sympathy for anybody who's frustrated. But to pretend like Tibbs doesn't feel all the same things that we feel, and is but you have to recognize that he is hamstrung by larger issues. Like you can't stick a guy with 2 more years and $36 million on the bench and tell him to go, just sit and watch games for a while. You can't do it because then you've just taken a potentially movable asset that you can't burn that money on fire, and you've thrown it in the toilet. Um, Again, I don't really have a great you want to sit Burks. He's you could argue that. I mean, I know he shot 2 for 10 tonight. He helped them win this game. He's been good. Does Rose maybe need a break? Maybe that's how you do it. Maybe you give Rose a break. I don't know. I don't know. Is Rose hurt? Is Rose? We'll see. Rose has been a little not great of late. So we'll see. Um, Andrew, as usual, the super chat screws me over. See if you could get any that I missed. Kevin Danishevsky missed the game because of work. BS. Sorry, Kevin. But good win. John, what's your ideal rotation when everyone on this team is healthy? Deuce and Quentin Grimes should start. Let's start both rookies. Yeah, I mean, look. Here's my thing with Derrick Rose. I think Derrick Rose, it makes the most sense to start. I also think Derrick Rose should only be playing 22 minutes a game. Having a starter out there who only plays 20 minutes a game, having a starting point guard out there who only plays 22 minutes a game is completely antithetical to everything Tibbs believes in. I don't know that it's fair to start a rookie second round pick at point guard. I don't know. My answer is I'm going to cheat and I'm going to say they need to make a trade. And yeah, Fournier is the obvious candidate to get traded, or I mean, that's what we all want, right? That's if you're asking me like, what is my ideal? My ideal is trade Fournier and your start Rose, have Deuce back him up, RJ and quickly at the two, Burks Grimes at the three, and then Randall Toppin at the four. That'd be great. Be wonderful. It's not going to be that easy to trade Fournier. I think this is going to be a situation moving forward that they're going to have to figure out. I have a feeling there may be some selective rest here and there. Harry Donor, what's going on, Harry? Always love when you comment. In my opinion, Mitch finally playing well was the most important factor going forward. A word on Mitchell Robinson, because if anybody was paying attention to me on Twitter tonight, I was murdering Mitchell Robinson. Absolutely murdering Mitchell Robinson for his defense. I thought his defense was bad for pretty much the entire night, with the exception being the moments where Mitch could do the things that Mitch does, which is he has amazing timing, incredible timing on his jumps, when to block, when to rise for a block. He is really good at anticipating shot attempts. He's good on the block. All those things. His movement in space, his awareness off the ball tonight, his engagement mentally in the game for most of this one, on defense specifically, I thought was terrible. And I thought it cost them and it really hurt them. And then Taj comes in, and Taj alongside Mitch, someone made a comment on Twitter. He really does help clean up some of that stuff. On offense, I thought he was great, especially obviously in the fourth quarter. And that's something that Mitch has done all season long. I haven't had a problem with Mitch on offense this year. Offensive rebounds, lob threat, all that stuff. Would you like to see him diversify what he does a little bit more? Yes. Does that hurt you when you're playing a defense that knows how to exploit the fact that you have a center that can't put the ball on the floor? Absolutely. Even so, it's nice to see him do those things on the offensive end. I still have my real serious concerns about him on defense, and it's why the notion of going to get Miles Turner still is very appealing to me. And my God, if there's a way to use Fournier's salary in a Miles Turner trade, I don't know if that's going to be possible. And maybe I don't know. Maybe you need to bring in a third team. I don't know. Would that cost you too much by way of draft assets? Uh, we'll see. Jeremy E. Start Deuce. 1, 2. Start Deuce. 3. Trade Evan Fournier for virtually anything you could get. Yeah. Yeah. Good comment. Hush Zoo. Starters played down to the competition. Bench plays like the Knicks we know. It's been that way all season long. Again and again, Tibbs has a good problem now with Deuce and Grimes. It's a great problem, but it is a problem. But it is nice to know that, and this is why, like I've written a few times over this week in the newsletter, the notion of like, if this season continues to go sideways, is there a pivot towards trading off some pieces, exploring the market for Julius Randle? We haven't talked about him yet tonight. I mean, it's more of the same. You know, he shot it well from outside. Great to see. Shot it without hesitancy from the outside. Great to see. The defense, I mean, I was watching some of those defensive possessions, as we all were, where the Rockets were just putting Randall and Fournier in an action together. That's not fair. That should be disallowed by the league to be able to exploit both Randall and Fournier on defense. And then when you got a guy like Mitch who's not really moving very well, it's atrocious. Worst case scenario, the thing keeps going sideways. You do have these kids to fall back on, and whatever happens down the stretch of the season, we're in a playoff race. They start to turn it around. They figure out the rotation. Good news. Play more of the kids. Good news. Let chips fall where they may. Tyler Michaels. Is there a per 48 stat? Yeah, there's a per 48 stat. We'll need that for Deuce since he's never coming out of the game. Seriously, though, love his passing ability would surprise me. Yeah, I mean, I thought the passing ability was pretty good coming out of school. Obviously, I didn't do the research on him that like draft experts do, but like the games that I watched, he seemed like he was a good, solid combo guard, could run the show. Certainly not a two guard like masquerading as a point guard or like just an undersized two. I thought he was a true combo with some point guard upside. And then you factor in the shooting and everything else. Really good stuff. Chris Carter. Apropos of nothing, Steven Silas seems like a cool dude who got dealt a raw deal, and I hope he finds success as a head coach. I think he's done wonderfully with this team. To come back and win 7 games in a row after you've lost 15 straight, I mean, that's awesome. That's really fucking cool. And he has these guys playing hard. He has guys like Daniel Tice, who's a veteran, got him engaged. DJ Augustine, he's got him engaged. They try to make the right play on offense all the time. You know, they play hard on defense. I mean, they certainly stifled the Knicks a lot tonight on defense. I think he's doing a good job. I think they got themselves a coach for a while, and I think he's going to be a good coach. Lunas Emirat. Evan Fournier got revenge on the state of Texas over that steak. I don't know. I mean, on offense, he had a nice night. Good to see him hit shots. Still, though, some of the possessions were rough on both ends. Also, you can't convince me Tibbs didn't create Deuce in a lab to play point guard for him. The quick Deuce duo. My thinking is that, like, again, we're putting the cart before the horse. In the NBA today, the way the game is played, you can't have a better bench guard duo than Deuce McBride and Emmanuel Quickly. I know we're all sitting here and being like, start Deuce, start Quickly, the whole thing. If this team ever actually gets really good and is a real contender, and I don't know what has to happen for that to happen, but Quickly and Deuce off the bench, you're not doing any better than that. And guys who could play significant minutes off the bench. We'll see. I'm just noticing that your own Weissman responded. Here's my question. Been clear for a bit now that the Knicks don't want him as their long-term center. I'm talking about Mitchell Robinson. But Do you think they made a mistake not extending him in the offseason, which would have given him more trade value? Um, that's a great question, Yaron. I'm going to have to tweet him back in a bit. Do I think the Knicks made a mistake by not extending Mitchell Robinson in the offseason to give him more trade value? It depends, obviously, what the number is. I also just wonder, with the questions about how mentally engaged he is, and obviously we've all seen his Instagram posts recently after game, like 5 minutes after games. Like, I wonder, is that why they didn't extend him? Because of the fear of, like, is this a guy that is gonna, like, come off in a certain type of way where teams, like, fear having him on their books committed for multiple years at a certain amount of money? That would be my answer. At the same time, if they could have gotten him on a certain number in the offseason, I just don't know what number they could have gotten him at. Because we don't know what his agent wants, because we don't know who his agent is at this point. ML Nair. The kids have to be opening Tibbs' eyes on both sides of the court. I'm sure he loves what he's seeing. AE Kennedy. It's damn near 4 a.m. in Sierra Leone. Shout out to Sierra Leone. What's going on, my man? And staying up to watch this game was all worth it for Deuce. I'm glad it was worth it. And thank you for continuing to watch even after the game and contributing so generously. IQ and Mitch love playing with him. Yes, they do. Can't wait until Obi, Grimes, and RJ get back. Listen, this team has an exciting young core. I know I said my piece on Mitch. RJ's been a little up and down. Still believe in RJ big time. But again, who this front office drafted. And by the way, he ends with hashtag play the kids. It's what we all want. We all want them to play the kids. And I don't blame anyone for saying that they only want to see these guys, because again, it's not like we've seen Knicks teams in the past have young players and not play them when the team sucks and the team is tanking, and they're still not playing the kids. That's frustrating. What's frustrating about this is the starters. It's not only that they're bad; they're like. Again, I hate to point this out, but like it needs to be said. So Julius Randle played 32 minutes tonight against one of the worst teams in basketball. He was a -9. Let's say that again. Julius Randle played 32 minutes tonight against one of the worst teams in basketball, and he was a -9. I understand game to game plus minus is, as I say all the time, not worth the paper it's printed on. Except it's not one game or 2 games or 5 games or 10 games. It's 29 fucking games, or however many they've played this year. 27. And the reason I know that is because, again, you could go look on Twitter today. It was going around. The 538 released their Raptor stats, and I don't love Raptor. Raptor's not perfect. It had who was it? Fred VanVleet and John Collins ahead of Kevin Durant. Again, not a perfect stat. That being said, it factors in on-off differential, and it factors in production, which factors in efficiency. Julius Randle's 249 out of 250 players. And that's because on-off numbers like this have been this way all year long. Now, at some point, the coincidence starts to become a trend. It's just, it hasn't come for him. I hope it's coming. The thing that frustrates me, you want to go through your offensive struggles and have a good game once every 4 games or whatever on offense, that's fine. He continues to let it affect his defense, and we saw it again tonight. I thought his defense was bad. So yes, when everybody is like, play the kids, play the kids, play the kids, I have all the sympathy in the world for that because of what we're seeing when the kids are not on the floor. Mango Man. Who would have thought that setting off-ball screens, running something other than ISO sets, and letting your guards make plays was a viable way of scoring? Well, if you've been paying attention, it's been that way for the bench all year. Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickly, now Deuce McBride, RJ when he plays with the bench. And it goes hand in hand with the comment I just made. When Randall's not on the court, that's how they play. Now, some people look at that and they look at how the starters play and how the offense looks with the starters, and they want to blame Tom Thibodeau. And they want to say, it's your fault. You're the one who designs the offense. It's your fault. Well, again, I wonder why Tom Thibodeau magically has the offense of the backups playing the way they do, whereas the starters play the way they do. And it seems to me as if he's between a rock and a hard place because he has a power forward in Julius Randle who they brought in these other guards, Kemba and Fournier, to try to make it a more, I don't know what word you want to say, the type of offense that's not what we've been seeing. And it never really came together this year. And then it's like, okay, well, we're just going to go back to what we did last year, which is through Randle. And then when Randall's not hitting shots, well, what are you going to do then? It's tough. I don't envy him, but I also don't blame him. When players are playing badly, this is what happens. Kenneth Escalona, the new starting five, question mark. Deuce, Quick, Burks, Rob, Mitchell Robinson, Taj, or Toppin. Problem is Randall with Fournier. Maybe Fournier should shave so Randall does not hate him. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but here's what I do know. I do know Randall and Fournier cannot survive together on defense. That much I know. Unless you have two insanely good other wing / guard defenders and a really, really solid defensive center, you cannot play Randall and Fournier together on defense and hope that your defense is going to be okay. Randall, aside from just being better on defense last year and giving more effort on defense last year, was contained by those around him. Reggie Bullock, I thought, deserved more consideration, not legitimate consideration. He deserved more votes for all defense. RJ was better. He was fine. He was above board. And then their centers were great. Their centers were awesome defensively last year. And then Elfrid Payton, say what you want, he couldn't be taken advantage of. He had some space cadet moments. I railed on his defense all year long. Anyone who said he was this kind of defensive maestro was not watching the games. He wasn't. But he also wasn't a zero. And Fournier, I mean, my God, some of the times he's out there with the, again, lack of competitiveness, lack of awareness. That combined with Randall, plus the inconsistency of the centers on defense, they can't play together. And then obviously the offensive struggles are the offensive struggles, but I don't know. I still hope that they would come out of that. But do they need to be broken up? Maybe. I don't know. Jordan Bub, what's going on, Jordan? Don't forget about Rokas, Luka, and Sims. Build something special. The front office has a plan, and the front office definitely has a plan. And if Mitch can play like that, it will be all right. Hashtag play the kids. This is Tibbs post-game. We don't have Tibbs tonight because they're on the road. You look at his development, and he's a strong two-way player. He plays with great energy on both sides of the ball. He plays multiple positions. He's unselfish. He sprays it out. If you sag off of him, he's going to shoot. He can make it, and he can finish. Well, that's pretty high praise. Yeah, Rokas. Everybody loves Rokas. He's killing it overseas. I'd like to see it here. Same thing with Luka. He's killing it in the G League. He's hurt right now, apparently. He hurt his ankle, I think. Sims, I love. I love Sims. Yeah, they know what they're doing. But again, a lot of young players on a roster that has also a lot of veterans. The next 6 weeks before this trade deadline are going to be very interesting. Very interesting. Dom Cappuccini. What's going on, Dom? Thank you for the contribution. I appreciate it, man. Uh, in first, at first, I was with you on Mitch. Someone must have gotten his ear because I didn't recognize the fourth quarter Mitch. Need a lot more of that. I guarantee Deuce starts on Saturday. Impressive poise tonight. Well, here's what I think. In the interim, well, let me take a step back. It depends on the COVID stuff. Because if RJ, Grimes, and Obi are still out on Saturday, I think that throws everything into, whatever. But if like one or a couple of those guys are back, does Deuce get to start and do they rest Rose? I think that's probably where we're looking at, but we'll see. And then fourth quarter, Mitch, like, yeah, I didn't think that the Rockets did a good job of putting him in positions to not be successful on defense. I want to go back and watch it and see if maybe he didn't make any mistakes, and that's why I didn't notice him making mistakes on defense in the fourth. But his offense was a game changer, absolutely a game changer. Aussie Knicks fan. Feels like we have a unique situation where playing the kids will help us in both the present and the future. Great job as always, KFS crew. Thank you. You're always so kind with the contributions and obviously the kind words. We appreciate it. Yeah, it's why, again, I've been writing about it all week, and I hesitate to use the word tanking if they, whatever, moved on from any of these vets at or before the trade deadline, because it feels like these kids really do have something in them. Now, let me just say very clearly, all of these kids have their limitations. There's a reason that Emmanuel Quickly was the 25th pick in the draft. There's a reason that Deuce McBride was the 36th pick in the draft. Like, Quickly is, there's a moment where he was driving on like the semi break, and he had Tice, and he beat Tice kind of off the dribble, but then the help came off the corner, and he had a great pass to Fournier in the corner. He didn't make it. He instead challenged Tyson. He got blocked. Now, on one hand, you like the aggressiveness, but on the other hand, like, point guard has to kick that out to the corner. There are moments like that where Quickly, you can tell he's not a starting caliber NBA point guard, at least if you're trying to really win games against decent teams. Deuce, rookie, again, small guard, doesn't really get all the way to the rim. You could see it tonight. The handles, he doesn't have that breakdown ability. He's not yet a true, really good pick and roll point guard yet. But that's fine. That's growing pains. But I don't want anybody to think like if they go out and play Deuce, Quickly, Obi, RJ, Grimes, Sim, whoever, Mitch, 35 minutes a game for the rest of the year, that they're going to like win more games than they lose. That's not, even Obi, I quoted the stat recently, I forget, on here or in the podcast or some point, I don't know, like, do too much shit. But like, Obi's in the 10th percentile for usage. Not usage, sorry. For how many of his shots are assisted. He gets assisted on everything. It helps when you're playing with a guard like Derrick Rose, and he's played 3/4 of his minutes with Derrick Rose. That helps a lot in terms of Obi Toppin's productivity and putting Obi Toppin in positions to succeed. If all of a sudden you're only playing with Deuce or you're only playing with Quickly, who don't have quite the veteran savvy of a Derrick Rose, is Obi going to look as good? So, like, I think there's, there at least has to be an acknowledgement that if you do, again, if the season went sideways and you're only playing the kids or whatever, it's not like they're going to, again, turn into the, the 73-win Warriors. That said, I don't care. None of us care because they play hard, they play the right way, and I think you're building something because I think the culture is here. I do think they do need to keep a couple of vets on hand to make sure that it's still like solid basketball. And I think, again, we're always dancing around the same shit. It's Randall, it's Fournier, the two guys that are really truly frustrating. Josh Kyle, what's going on, Josh? Killed it. Deuce killed it. I would say start Rose and have him come off the bench as a backup point guard. Trade the bad steak, aka Fournier or DMP, Kemba move. Again, it's very different from Kemba. I'm going to be very clear about this. Kemba Walker is signed after this year for one more year at $9 million. Evan Fournier is signed after this year for 2 fully guaranteed years at $36 million. Very, 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 very different animals. Can't bench Fournier. Anthony Sixto. Great seeing Taj again. Yeah, oh my God, I've been talking for 40 fucking minutes. I haven't mentioned Taj Gibson. Shame on me. Great game from Taj. I know he didn't hit as many threes, as he would have liked to. He was awesome. Defensively, the guy just is so solid. Not perfect, so solid though. Made some nice plays, knocked down a three on top of it. 50% three-point shooter. Confirmed stretch 5. I don't think he's 50% three-point shooter on the year, but sure. Hold on, we're gonna catch up here in the super chat. I see we have some fake trades here coming up. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Okay. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Again, Andrew, if there's anything that I missed, shoot me a text. JD, Leon needs to make trades, bro. Yes, he does, but other teams watch basketball games that the Knicks play. I don't know. Here's the problem. If there was a veteran on this team, like a Burks or a Rose, who you could get a first-round pick for, I think they'd be open to that. But no one's giving you a first for those guys. Maybe to take back some bad money. Maybe somebody gives you a first for Rose and you take back some bad money. But again, I don't want to trade Derrick Rose. I love Derrick Rose's influence on the other point guards. I love his connection with Obi Toppin. So what, are you going to trade Alec Burks? Again, we all want to trade Fournier, but that's not going to be easy necessarily. And I brought up on the halftime zone the notion of because it was Mark Berman reported, their interest in Eric Gordon. And I was like, okay, here's the trade. Fournier plus a first for Gordon. Not our first. Either the Charlotte first or the Dallas first. The Dallas first is top 10 protected. The Hornets first is also, I think, whatever it is. If it converts next year, which is when it will probably convert, it's top 14 protected. Are you selling low on Fournier? Absolutely. Should you wait to rehab his value? 100%. Do you have too many draft assets as it is, and do you need to unload one of those picks? Yeah. Do I want to unload one of those picks in that trade as opposed to waiting and potentially seeing if I could pick up Miles Turner for for the Dallas and the Charlotte first and maybe some seconds and Kevin Knox and salary? So that you can't just throw around first round picks willy-nilly because you don't like a guy and you want to get him off your team. And I think at this point, trading Fournier is going to be a little difficult. So we'll see what they do. Parrish Duggar, what's going on, man? The issue is he has to have a quick hook on Evan. Yeah, I mean, again, you have to toe the line. And here's why you have to toe the line. And I want to be just very clear about this. The Knicks, no matter what they do this year, are not winning anything. They're not winning a championship. They're probably not winning a playoff series. They'd be lucky to get in a playoff game, play-in game, let alone win a play-in game. Also, you don't have to worry, I don't think, about the culture or the work ethic of the kids. That's all set in stone. I think that's good. So then it's about, okay, development minutes, right? And you're talking about, okay, quick hook on Evan, give you 5 extra minutes for a kid to play. Is that worth telegraphing to the league that you are out on Evan Fournier? I don't know the answer to that question. If they start playing Evan Fournier 18 minutes a game, all of a sudden, when they throw his name around in trade talks, it's going to be as of now, they get at least with a straight face, be like, yeah, we know he struggled. That's obviously he struggled, but we're confident he's going to come out of it. Yeah, we're not putting him into trades right now. He's part of the solution here. They could still say that with a straight face. If you start playing him 15, 17 minutes a game, whatever it is, it's tougher to do that. King Ace, would you give up a first to get off Fournier? I didn't even see this comment until and I said what I just said a minute ago. I don't know it. Here's what I do know, and shout out to Jeremy Cohen. He made this point abundantly clear in this week's podcast. At some point before 2023, they have to consolidate some of their draft assets. They have 4 second-round picks in 2023, and they have 3, probably, again, depending on the Hornets pick, 3 first-round picks. They have to consolidate. I think there's a real chance that they get Turner using the Dallas pick and the the Hornets pick, plus maybe a second or two, and again, and Knox and salary or whatever. If that's not on the table, or I can only get Turner by giving up Deuce or Grunt, and I don't want to do that. Would I consider tossing one in to offload Fournier if I'm getting back a player who I like? But again, if you're getting back a player you like, getting back Eric Gordon, again, there's still a rotation problem, right? That still brings back someone that you're getting to play minutes. And that's what we're trying to get around here. There's really no easy answers right now. In a perfect world, you're probably just saying we fucked up on the Fournier thing, and you're trading him for some bad expiring salary. In a perfect world, to a team that looks at Fournier and is like, "Hey, we feel okay. We feel like we could use him." Is that a reality? Probably not. Maybe you get him. Maybe you get him off the books for a second. Although we'll see. Keith Alston, what are 2 or 3 trades that you'd like to see before the deadline? Free the kids. Hashtag free the kids. Again, I've been very honest about the fact that, I don't think Miles Turner fixes everything. I would like to see Miles Turner here. I think he will help a lot. We've talked about Fournier, the possibility of offloading him. I don't know. It's too early for me. I wrote about it today. I don't know. Today, I think. Just the notion of what would be what is the trade market for Julius? That's all. I wonder that. I just wonder. That's all. Jeremy Chase, what's going on, Jeremy? Evan Fournier has been sent through time from the 90s to revive the stereotype that European players are soft and playing on defense. Hashtag time flop. That's a good hashtag. Time flop. It's like it reminds me of Endgame, time heist, except time flop. I wish we could do a time heist where we send Fournier back to the 90s. It's so strange because, I remember sending out newsletters at the beginning of the year where I was praising Evan Fournier's defense. I was praising his being on the ball, getting in passing lanes, opportunistic steals, and knowing when to double and being on the and I where has that gone? I don't know. I don't know where it's gone, but it's gone. And you're right. He has revived the stereotype. And hold on, somebody just told me read Fred Katz's tweet on Deuce McBride. I'll pull up Freddie over here. Fred, killing it, by the way. What is this? Steph Bondy just tweeted out the back page of tomorrow's Daily News. McWho? ? With COVID and injuries taking their toll, McBride, Robinson, and Quickly take over to end Knicks skid. I don't know about McWho. I think we all knew who Deuce McBride was. But again, I digress. I don't see a Fred. Maybe I'm missing a Fred tweet here. All right, Andrew, see if you can find. Oh, here we go. And now we wait to see Tom Thibodeau, how Tom Thibodeau handles rookies. Grimes dropped 27 points, then went into protocols. Does he receive opportunities once he's out? McBride just stepped up with everything. Defense, 9 assists, 0 turnovers. Do these guys play? And if so, who doesn't? Yeah, I don't know. Again, wouldn't there be egg on my face if I just got done talking for the better part of an hour about how they can't bench Evan Fournier? And wouldn't it be funny if Tom Thibodeau benches Evan Fournier? Nothing would shock me. Here's why nothing would shock me. Because I think Tom Thibodeau has such currency within the organization that, like, of course the front office is being like, you got to get this guy through it. We have him on the books, this and that. It wouldn't shock me if Tibbs was like, go fuck yourselves. This is my last shot as an NBA head coach. I'm playing who's going to give me the best chance to win. I don't know. Nothing would shock me. Nothing would shock me. Michael Aaron. What's going on, Michael? How are you, my man? Just for fun, we trade Randall and trade Fournier. Where? I know IQ and Deuce are small, but they have huge wingspans. They do. You know what they say about huge wingspans? Get Turner and show me Deuce IQ, RJ, Obi, Turner. I'm more like the version of the team that I is really interesting for me to think about is like, and again, they're not going to do this. They're not going to do this. The Kings, I'm sure, wouldn't do it. But like the notion of swapping out Randall for another dynamic guard doesn't have to be a perfect guard. But like, I wonder if like, just again, we're shooting the shit here, right? We're 51 minutes into the live stream. Like Randall for Fox, right? So you bring in Fox. Fox has obviously had his issues this year. I don't think by all accounts, his defense has been shit. He's obviously not hitting 3-pointers. The Kings have been terrible. Has some awful on-off. Like, other than Randall, who has the worst on-off of any, like, quote-unquote star player in the league, Fox is next. He's the next worst. If those two teams just, like, were like, okay, let's swap problems. There's one Kentucky guy for another. Which, again, I don't think they're going to do because they're not going to send Randall to Sacramento. But just for argument's sake, if they brought in another dynamic guard and the entire offense was like Fox, Rose, Quickly, Deuce, Burks, Fournier off the bench, whatever. Well, I guess you'd still have one too many, right? Because then RJ's still here. Whatever. You find another home for Fournier. All these guys that can put the ball on the floor and drive. And then you got Obi doing his thing, playing off of all these dynamic guards. That's a really fun and interesting team. It's not like a contender or anything, but it's a fun and interesting team. It's one you'd love to see what they could do. That's interesting to me, but we'll see. Mangu Man. To be fair, they ran horns with Mitch and Randall in the fourth successfully. They did, absolutely. Again, my issues with Mitch are not on the offensive end, nor are they, quite frankly, with Randall. I thought Randall on offense, he's trying. He's working his shit out on offense, and I have a lot more. I'm not saying he was good on offense tonight, Randall. I have a lot more sympathy for him on offense than I do on defense. The difference was the guard had the ball to make the decisions. Yeah, yes, 100%. Which, by the way, we were talking about, or some of us were talking about for the whole beginning of the year. Randall going back to what he was, more or less, in LA and New Orleans, where he was more of a finisher, where he didn't commandeer the offense and he played off of guards or wings who had the ball in their hands a lot. But that never happened with Fournier and Kemba to start the year. It did not happen with Kemba to start the year. It was always like Julius would he'd set a screen for Kemba or whatever. Occasionally he would finish a pick and roll with Kemba initiating. But it was always like, this is my offense and I'm going to take some possessions or segments of games where it's going to be your offense and I'll try to assist you there. There's never any synergy with Kemba. There was some synergy with Fournier, a little bit that looked like with Bullock last year. But I agree with you. If Randall's playing off of guards and he's more of a finisher, where and by the way, he's a finisher who can make decisions and make passes and all that stuff. Like there's a world where it works. It's just we haven't seen enough of it. John Kim, do you think Portland would give us? Oh boy, here we go. Do you think Portland would give us Dame for Randall, RJ, and Fournier? I think my brain just broke. Let me just at least do the math in my head. The math works. Randall is too ball dominant and holds the ball too long after he gets it. His holding the ball too long after he gets it is, again, it's what worked last year. It hasn't worked this year. Yes, it sucks and it's frustrating to watch. Would Portland do that? No, Portland would not do that. Would the Knicks do it? Yeah, the Knicks I think would do it. That trade's not going to happen. I like the creativity though. What else we got? Andrew, you're too funny. Hold on, got a lot of stuff. Okay, let's finish up here. We're trying to get it in under the hour mark. You guys have been great tonight. Thank you so much. And again, I think Andrew got any super chats that I missed in real time. If he didn't, if I missed you, honor code. Just type in the regular chat, and Andrew will get you. Oh, he said I got them all. Okay. Harry Donor. Seems like there's a hesitancy to place any blame on the front office or Tibbs. The front office built the roster, and Tibbs' job is to make it work. I still believe in Tibbs and Leon, but they certainly haven't been perfect. Yeah, I don't think they've been perfect. I don't think Tibbs has been perfect. The reason I get so vociferous with my defense of Tibbs is because, and I had a little bit of a rant about this at the end of the last live stream, is because I see what this franchise does to head coaches. And this franchise, again, if you go through the last 20 years, ever since Jeff Van Gundy, and you just look at the resumes of the head coaches that have been here before they came, and then in some cases the results of the head coaches after they left, and then how they did here. And I'm not saying these guys were good. A lot, most of them were bad, but even then, it's like I wonder how many people are dying to take this job with all that comes with it, and this market, this owner, still exists. So my defense of Tibbs is just like, is he the perfect coach? Of course, he's not the perfect coach. There's, it's Pop, it's Spo. I mean, it's Pop and it's Spo, basically. Rick Carlisle was looked at as like a absolute no-brainer top 5 head coach in the league for a long time. How did he do? How did he finish up in Dallas? How do people think he's doing in Indiana right now? Doc, Doc's gonna make the. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame head coach. He's won a championship. Like everywhere Doc goes, they fucking can't wait to get him out of time. Like this happens with head coaches. He's a good head coach. He's a good head coach. He knows what he's doing. He hasn't been perfect. As for the front office, it's a group of guys that are still kind of feeling their way. And the one guy who's been doing it for 20 years is Scott Perry, who I haven't been bashful about the fact that I don't really necessarily trust Scott Perry's talent evaluation at all times. Yeah, they deserve some blame. At the same time, I also think they deserve praise because there was an opportunity here with this team, with this franchise, to look at last year and really do some silly shit as a result of it. And I know that the third year for Fournier is kind of having all of us a little bit high strung at the moment. But they were conservative this offseason, and they tried to kind of toe the line. It didn't work. But I think they've done a pretty good job. I think both parties have been above board. Forgotten NYC. I'm not going to read that. John Kim's he's tried. Keith Alston, Evan for Pat Bev and Josh Okogie. I'll be honest. I know Pat Bev was hurt for a little while. Is he still hurt? In terms of his place in the Timberwolves rotation, I'm not 100%. I have not been following them as quickly or as closely as I should. Would I do that? Yeah, of course I do it. I don't think you're going to see that, especially since Josh Okogie is a good young player. And I don't think they're just going to give up on him. I know he's kind of persona non grata there at this point, but I'd do that. I think there's going to be a taker somewhere for Fournier if they want to move him. I just you may have to throw a little something in. Dom Cappuccini. After undrafted Jeremy Lin, is the idea of starting Deuce that crazy? Season on the line, just like it was in 2012. No, nothing's crazy. Nothing's crazy because just like that team, I remember that team very well. They were, what were they when they put Lin in the starting lineup? Were they like 8-15, 8-14, something like that? Wasn't good. It was desperation time, and I don't think we're quite there yet. Again, because of the nature of the contracts and whatnot. But no, nothing's crazy. It's certainly not crazy. All right, here we go. I think we're caught up. I see a lot of crying, laughing emojis. I see Andrew here in the chat. Vociferous. What's wrong with vociferous? Did I say it wrong? Andrew got on my pronunciation of Pat Connaughton. And who's the other one, Andrew? I'm forgetting. Oh, Tyler. I'm not calling him Hero. He's Tyler Harrow in my book. And somebody's saying I should read a different tweet from Fred Katz. I'll look it up right now to see if there's something else that I missed, and then we're gonna get out of here. By the way, thank you for anybody in here who saw Spider-Man and did not spoil it. I have not seen it yet. I'm seeing it, I hope, with my oldest on Saturday. No, there's no other Fred tweet. So yeah, thanks for not spoiling Spider-Man. And that's it. Oh, we got one more. Jessica, my buddy Jessica. How are you, Jessica? I don't care if Kemba became our Udonis Haslam as long as we get rid of Evan. Deuce McBuckets, like that. Deuce McBuckets was amazing tonight. Would love to see Obi, IQ, Sims, Grimes, Deuce lineup someday for fun. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, somebody DM me, it was like a month or so ago when they were playing a lineup that had Sims in it. And they were like, when's the last time the Knicks had 5 players on the court at the same time that were all drafted by the team? And I haven't had a chance to do like research on that, but that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I'm here for it. Look, there's some good stuff going on here. I don't know that like the season got turned around tonight, but they did need a win, and they got a win. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, we'll see if we get another one. If they win in Boston on Saturday night, I'll have a little bit of a more vociferous tone as far as how stringently or how much I will increase my positivity level about this team for the rest of the year. All right, I see Andrew. Apparently, I see Andrew. Apparently, there's some spoilers. Luckily, I haven't seen them. Sorry, Andrew. I shouldn't have brought anything up. Okay, I will see everybody later. Peace out.